So yes, it's happened, ladies and gentlemen. Germany has decided to legalize cannabis. Fuck yes, Germany. I knew you'd do it before United Kingdom did it. And yeah, it was an incredibly sensible, sage, wise thing to have done, I think. Legalizing cannabis, there's a list of reasons for doing it, which are awesome and incredible, that are about as long as my arm, and there are zero reasons for not doing it. There's zero reasons for not legalizing cannabis. It's been shown if you legalize cannabis, fewer people are likely to start using cannabis in the first place. I imagine that if you legalize cannabis, fewer kids will start using it, and they'll be more likely to wait until they're old enough to use it, I think. If you legalize cannabis, you're likely to get a cleaner, safer product, etc., etc. Nothing flocked with anything like embalming fluid or synthetic cannabinoids, and yeah, it's going to be a far safer product, and they'll be far less likely to use it and abuse it, I think, if there even are any health um, side effects to using cannabis, such as the risk of developing psychosis, which for all sorts of reasons I think is fairly spurious anyway. But yeah, Germany's decided to do this. You'll be allowed to own 3 plants in Germany. Yeah, using the German 3, which I always do now ever since I lived in Holland for a year. I always go like that now. I had a German flatmate in Holland, and she always used to do the German 3. Like, it's easier. It is easier than doing this. Oh, it's good. Yeah. So this is fantastic. I think now that Germany's done this, a lot of other European nations will wake up to the benefits of legalizing cannabis and may well look at their own laws and, start revising them. And I think this is a fantastic thing. I think this is indicative of a very organic trend in policy that we're likely to see increase over the coming decades, especially since we're going to start running out of oil big time over the next few decades. We need an alternative supply of crude oil or crude oil substitutes. And those can be readily derived from the cannabis plant, of course, along with things like textiles and plastics and all that other good stuff that people who are in the know about cannabis know about. We'll be needing something else to use in crop rotations over the next 50 years or so as the natural gas supplies run out. To fix nitrogen in the soil, cannabis is the obvious choice for this, since it's such an amazingly versatile crop for all sorts of reasons. Has deep tap roots, nitrogen fixation ability, has properties that phytoremediate soil, remove harmful bacteria, harmful elements, heavy elements from soils, and things of that nature. Cannabis can be used for this reason as well, and yeah, it will. I think we're going to see a dramatic change in the way that our economies work over the next 50 years. And I think over the next, well, I know over the next 50 years we'll have to totally wean ourselves off of crude oil, and that there isn't going to be any more crude oil coming out of the old oil wells of the past, and that you do hear this kind of nonsense about it being abiotic float around the internet and all this sort of crap, and that there's an illusion of scarcity. There's an infinite amount of crude oil. Like, no, there isn't an infinite amount of crude oil. What there is like there's crude oil, and then there's crude oil that's been substituted with palm oil, or augmented with palm oil, or supplemented with palm oil. So, because lots of people referencing, oh, there's a big oil scare in the 70s. Like, yeah, it was running out in the 70s still. Then they started cutting down loads of rainforest in the 70s and growing palm oil in Indonesia. And that's why it didn't run out. It's because agriculture had to take up the slack from mining and petrochemicals industry, though, which it will have to do anyway. And we'll have to be growing a lot more oil crops here. I imagine the oil crop will be cannabis, or it should be anyway. It should definitely be cannabis. And yeah, this sounds like, when you say these sort of things to people now, it sounds like an alien notion to them. Like, how could you think to grow cannabis? Why would you grow cannabis for fuel? It's like, you're out of your fucking mind. It's like, You're out of your mind. You don't know anything. You don't know enough about it. You don't know that it can be turned, like any plant really, into fuel. It's just the reason we turn cannabis into fuel instead of any other crop. It's just because it's so much of it that gets produced. It's so big. It produces so much cannabidiol oil. That's why we would use it as a fuel oil crop and not any other plant. That's the only reason, yeah. But yeah. No, this is wonderful. This is wonderful that Germany's done this. I think it'll help Germany, even though Germany seems to be the sort of country that everything is very well run there anyway, irrespective of, you know, cannabis legality and so on. But yeah, I think one way or another it'll improve their country a little bit, probably, like it would if it were made legal anywhere. I'm not saying it would turn it into a paradise overnight if it were made legal, but it would certainly improve things. It's like if it were made legal, if it were made legal in the United Kingdom, it would save lives. It would improve people's lives if it were made legal here. But people just don't seem to realise this. It's just too it's too counterintuitive for them. It's too much of a big leap forward for the minds of British people at the moment, I'm afraid to say, I think. You know, it's like we constantly criticise the government and criticise and hate on politicians. But there's like one thing like that we don't merely want to have happen, we need it. We need cannabis legality. And it would improve things greatly here if it were made legal. And it's just cut down on crime, cut down on hospitalizations of people. It would save lives if cannabis were made legal here, but people don't realise this. It would save lives via like stymieing and augmenting the trade in harder drugs. That's really the reason why it would do that. And it'd prevent the black market foisting harder drugs on people who use cannabis, or encouraging people who use cannabis to use harder drugs. And it's that sort of logic. People just go, no. Or like, it would be less enticing to the youth to start using cannabis to begin with. People are like, here. Like, no, it wouldn't. That's what the data indicates. That's what the evidence indicates. And then they'll say, you're delusional. Like, I'm the one with the data on my side. Fuck's sake. But, you know, this is what you encounter if you ever try to argue about cannabis with people, or ever try to shine the light of logic and reason on stupidity. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye. I love you lots.